In the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a college professor, Richard Brown, sitting in a hospital. The doctor tells him that he is at the last stage of his lungs cancer and has only 6 months to live. He suggests that if he wants, he can have the painful surgery that will give him a year. But the professor refuses the surgery and walks away. He gets depressed by the news of his cancer. This depression doesn't let him to focus on his work. He loses all interest in his life. One day, he decides to tell the news to his family. At night, everyone comes together for the dinner and Richard prepares himself to inform them, but before he says a word, his daughter Olivia stops him. She tells her parents that she is a lesbian and also has a girlfriend. But her mother laughs at her statement. Olivia gets angry and leaves the table. After she leaves, her mother Veronica tells Richard that she wants to tell him something which will hurt him. She says she is having an affair with his boss Henry. Richard is shocked and gets into an argument with her. Veronica gets furious and leaves the table. But before going to her room, she asks him if he wants to tell her something. The next day, Richard takes his class and allows the students with good grades to leave and enjoy their day. He tells everyone that other students will stay in the class. He asks them to read a book on a specific topic from the chapter and tells everyone what each has learned from the topic. He informs them that if they learn something new he will give them a good grade. While leaving, he asks them anyone in the class who know about the cannabis seller has to appear in his office. All the students are shocked to see his behavior, which was different from other days. After this, the professor meets his friend Peter. He is the chairman of the college where Richard is teaching. Richard tells him that he wants to take retirement and asks him for his help. Peter tells him that he is not eligible for the retirement and asks him why he wants it. At this, Richard says that he wants to write a book. Peter gets doubtful and asks him don't lie to him. He forces him to speak the truth for the retirement. At last, Richard tells him that he is at the last stage of his lung cancer. Peter gets shocked to hear this and Richard requests him to keep this secret. In the following scene, Veronica meets Henry. After spending time together, Henry suggests her to work at his college where her husband Richard has already appointed. When she returns home, Richard tells her that he doesn't care about her affair with Henry. He announces that now they both are free from their relationship and can do whatever they want. But he insists her to keep this secret because he doesn't want to affect his daughter. At this, Veronica agrees and both enjoy their drinks together. Just then Olivia arrives home with her girlfriend. She gets shocked to see her parents' situation and leaves from there. The next day, Richard attends his class and asks everyone about the cigarettes. A student named Danny gives him a cigarette. But as he smokes it first time, he doesn't like it. Then he asks his students to introduce themselves to whole class. A girl starts the introduction and Richard asks her why everyone must know her name. She says she is Claire and she doesn't need to introduce herself because she is the niece of the college president. Hearing Henry's name from her mouth, Richard gets angry and says her uncle is not a nice person. Claire tells him that she also doesn't like him. Then Henry stops the introduction and tells everyone that we are going to a bar where we will talk to each other. Everyone gets excited and agree at his decision. At the bar, all students starts telling him about their families. Richard says that one day we all will die, so they just enjoy their life. He states that we have learned different things to increase the quality of our lives. But in fact, the way we are living is too boring. Just then a waitress arrives there to serve and he starts flirting with her. After she leaves, Richard goes after her to fulfill his inner desires. When he returns to the table, he asks his students to give some tips to the waitress. Everyone is surprised and know that what he had done with her. Richard asks a student, Rose, to be prepared for the explanation of the book topic. He tells his friend that he hooked up with a waitress. At night, while having dinner with Olivia, he asks her about her girlfriend. Just then Veronica comes there and Olivia gets angry. Richard asks Veronica to apologize to Olivia. The next day, Rose explains everyone about the book topic and what she has learned from it. They listen to her speech quietly except the professor. At the end of the explanation, he tells her that she is a very emotional girl and feels sorry for everything. He gives her a grade and praises her efforts. After this, he comments bad words on newly constructed pillar in the college. One of the students tells him that the pillar is made by his wife. Then Richard says that his wife can't hold him to express his feelings or views. In the following scene, Danny comes to Richard's office and offers him a cake. He tells him if he doesn't mind he wants to ask him something. Richard agrees and Danny asks him has he ever been intimate with a male. At this Richard says he didn't experience that feeling. Then Danny asks him would he like to be physical with him. It reveals that Danny is gay and the professor agrees to fulfill his desires. He lets him to be intimate with him because he revealed his true identity without fear. In the next scene, the pillar made by Richard's wife is being honored. At the ceremony, Olivia tells his father that Veronica is forcing her to quit her school. Richard says he will talk to her mother in the night. Then Veronica comes there and tells them that tonight she will go to dinner with Henry. When Olivia comes home with Richard, she asks him why he is still with Veronica as he already knows about her affair with Henry. He tells her that when a person gets old he starts blaming his mistakes on others, because his life is not the same as it was before. He asks her if she is in love with her girlfriend and she agrees. Then he gives her advice that she must know her importance. Later, he talks with Veronica and tells her that her daughter knows about her affair. She asks him if he asked her to keep it secret. Richard says he only advised her to live freely and don't fear from anyone. The next day, another student explains the next topic and Richard gives her a D grade. He asks everyone did they get the explanation right. Rose says yes and tells him that as every student is very intelligent. At this Richard tells them that wise is the one who stands to face every difficulty in life. Danny asks him for permission to smoke a cigarette and he himself starts drinking there. When Richard is teaching to the class in the garden, Peter and Henry see them. Seeing the teaching behavior of Richard, Henry gets frustrated and angry on him. In the following scene, at the bar Peter forces Richard to go to a support group. This group is made of people who give support to each other mentally and share their sorrows. But Richard doesn't like the conversation. When his turn comes he refuses to say anything and walks away. Later, Peter gets emotional as he states that his only true friend will leave him forever. Suddenly Claire comes there and finds Peter is fully drunk. Richard and Claire help him to get a cab. After this, they both drink together. Claire appreciates Richard for the way he lives his life. Just then Richard tells her about his lung cancer. Hearing this, Claire gets shocked. Later she invites him to dance with her. When they are dancing, suddenly Richard falls to the ground. The next day, Peter goes to the hospital to meet Richard and gets emotional to see him. He asks him to control his addiction because it is affecting his body badly. When Richard arrives home, Veronica asks him about the night party with his friend, but he refuses to tell her anything. In the following scene, we see him sitting in his cabin and Henry invites him to his office. But he doesn't want to meet him so he makes excuses for the meeting. But at last he has to enter his office. When Henry is going to ask him something Richard gets angry. Henry tells him that all he knows about his affair with Veronica and the pillar which is made with college fund has no meaning no to him. Then he threatens him to accept his retirement letter. After taking the letter, Richard goes to Peter's house to attend his wife's birthday. At the party, he gets cough and starts bleeding. Peter takes him from there and finds he is retired from the job. The next day, Claire explains a chapter on true love. Richard appreciates her and gives her a grade. He announces that the world needs good students like them. He tells them that life is not easy for them and they will have to face the difficulties alone. He advises them don't live like others being scared and never let go any opportunity. He teaches them to be unstoppable and live their life freely. Later, when he is inside his office, he gets cough again and collapsed. Luckily Peter arrives there and Richard asks him to take him to the church. They both sit there quietly and Richard tells his friend that now he has only 1 month to live. Peter states that he will miss him a lot and hugs him. At night, his daughter goes to attend a party with her girlfriend and Richard with Veronica go to a dinner. This special dinner is organized by Henry. Richard kisses Henry's wife in front of him and he gets angry on his behavior. Later, Henry invites everyone to the dinner table but Richard decides to sit separately from his wife. Henry stands and starts giving a strong speech on becoming the new chancellor of the college. Just then Richard interrupts him and explains everyone how Henry cheated with college fund. He says he gets this information from his wife Veronica. Henry tries to stop him but Richard decides to expose him fully. He tells every spam of Henry with the college. After exposing him, he reveals to everyone that he is at the last stage of lung cancer. Everyone gets shocked and emotional to hear the news. Then Richard tells them that he didn't understand his life nor he could live it in the right way. He says everyone must know that death is the last companion of human. He tells everyone that he just wants to enjoy his last moments happily. He also thanks Peter for supporting him every time. Then he goes to Veronica and apologizes to her for his past mistakes. She gets emotional and starts crying. After leaving from the party, he goes to his house to meet his daughter. Olivia comes to him and starts crying. She tells him that her girlfriend has cheated on her. Richard confronts her and tells her that one day she will get her true love as she is worthy of it. He says she is a very strong girl and he is a lucky father to have a daughter like her. He also tells her that he will die soon because of his lung cancer. At this Olivia gets shocked and starts crying again. Later he says goodbye to her one last time and takes his dog with him. He gets into his car and decides to leave his family forever as he doesn't want to die in front of them. Then he drives away with his dog from there. When he goes ahead, he finds two different paths in two different directions. But he decides to go straight that ends into a big river. Make sure you have subscribed and turn on all notifications, so you can watch more movies like this.